Here's something I see all the time with my clients. They've done a lot of self-work. They've listened to the podcasts and read the books and maybe even gone to therapy. But deep down, they're still caught in this loop of trying to cover up things that they are insecure about and don't like about themselves.
Welcome to the Marriage Magnet podcast, where it's not just about attracting the one, it's about becoming the one. I'm your host, Nechama Phillips, and here we focus on growth, high standards, and creating an intentional life and love through self-development. Navigate your dating journey with clarity and confidence, because marriage is not just a box you check off, it's your life.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode. I am so glad you're here, and today we're going to be talking about something that has been coming up a lot with my clients recently, and that is overcoming insecurities. And I want to say overcoming kind of in quotes, or I guess just lightly, because it is not just one snap, quick thing, a magic fix that we just overcome them. It's really about how we handle them and how we make peace with them. And so the way that I want to talk about this is under that frame, because if we come in trying to fix ourselves, that's definitely not what I'm going for here. So to get into it, let's just start talking about how insecurities show up in our lives, especially in our dating lives, right? So we all have things that we feel insecure about, right? Whether it's going to be in your dating life, and it will probably actually just magnify what you already feel insecure about. Maybe it's something about your looks. Maybe it's something about your family background that you feel embarrassed about. Maybe it's something deeper, like how you emotionally react to things, or a personality trait that you've been criticized for, or the way that you've handled conflict in the past, or something that happened in the past that you're not proud of. Whatever it is, you've likely found yourself trying to manage it in some way, and probably lean towards, or we all usually lean towards until we do the work, we lean towards hiding it, pretending it doesn't exist, pretending it's not there, covering it up in some way, especially when it comes to dating. So on a date, or even the way that you present yourself to people that are setting you up, we're always going to want to give off that image. And sometimes, even if you don't struggle with perfectionism, which a lot of us do, but even if you're not trying to give off that perfect image, you're trying to give off an image that you think will be accepted, that you think will be appreciated, that you think won't be judged, that you think people will see as good or right. And the problem is that you are not that image, right? We are not an image. We are not an image that we present, because we are just so much more. We're so much more complex than just a cover, because that is hiding our true selves. And if that image gets accepted, if that image gets that perceived, I would say, love, then it's still not you. So you're still not going to get it. And that's the frustrating part that we keep bumping up against with our insecurities, is that we feel our insecurities. We try to cover them up in some way, or manage them, or hide them, or pretend they're not there. We create a certain image for ourselves that allows us to feel safety, and that we will be accepted, that we won't be judged, that we'll finally get that unconditional love that we want. But it's not real unconditional love, because when we do get some form of acceptance, it's kind of just like bouncing off the image. It's not actually going into our hearts. It's not actually penetrating us. It's not actually allowing us to feel what we're really trying to feel, which is that true acceptance, that unconditional love, that safety, that belonging. And when it comes to dating, connection will never be possible if we are operating from a place of fear and we're hiding behind our insecurities. It will never be real connection. It will never be what we're actually seeking. Because the second the image starts to fade, and it will, right? The second that perceived, that mask that we're putting up is no longer there, it's going to crumble on some level as people get to know each other. There's just no way. There's no way we can keep up with the presentation of ourselves that is false, or that's an illusion. And so it will always crumble at some point. And at that point, what's going to be there? It's going to feel like a devastating loss. And the truth is that we didn't really lose anything in the first place, because we never actually gained what we were trying to gain, or what we were hoping to gain, that connection, that safety, that belonging, that unconditional love. So we have to break that mindset of thinking that our insecurities are what's keeping us from connection, when in truth, it's really embracing our insecurities that will allow for the connection, because your insecurities are not the problem. It's the way that you're handling them. It's the way that you're hiding from them. It's the way that you're not able to accept them that is causing disconnection in your life, that's causing you to not find that that connection and that vulnerability and that chemistry even with the people that you're dating, because there is such a barrier there. There's such a block, and it can't get to the heart of who you are because you're too afraid to allow someone to see those parts of you. So with your insecurities, right, the way that we handle them, do you pretend that they're not there? Do you try to mask your insecurities with perfection, or are you able to meet your insecurities where they are? Are you able to face them, meet them with presence, with empathy and acceptance, and even responsibility? Because we think sometimes that if I accept my insecurities, if I embrace myself the way I am, I won't want to change, right? And if we have something about ourselves that truly maybe someone would find frustrating about us too, right? Maybe we're always late. And then in a marriage, maybe my husband will hate that I'm always late, and it will be hard for him to deal with, and it will make me late to appointments, and then my kids later on. So I'm not saying that the things we're insecure about or the things that we struggle with are should never be worked on or should never be improved upon or should never be changed. There is nothing wrong with allowing yourself and other people to point out constructively what you can do better, but that doesn't have to contradict. It's actually us taking responsibility for the things that we struggle with and taking ownership of the things that we feel insecure about and telling ourselves, you know what, I accept myself as I am. This is what I'm dealing with right now, and I would love to grow. I would love to change. Maybe we can implement, right, when it's in a relationship, both of you can constructively think of a way that you can come up with some kind of solution that works for both of you and manage the, how it affects other people with that consideration. That is not a contradiction. So I want to challenge you when you think of your insecurities and to think, oh, I can't accept them because no one else will ever accept them, or this doesn't work for life, so I have to be harsh with myself. I have to either hide it or be ashamed about it. I can't take ownership. I can't take responsibility. I can't find any kind of peace or acceptance with them because I'm afraid of how they'll impact my life or other people in my life. That's not actually true. That's just another mechanism that our brains use to try and prevent us from taking responsibility, prevent us from making peace with who we are so that we don't change. Because we are able to change when we take ownership. We say, this is where I am, this is what I'm dealing with right now, and I can always work on myself. And here's something I see all the time with my clients. They've done a lot of self-work. They've listened to the podcasts and read the books and maybe even gone to therapy. But deep down, they're still caught in this loop of trying to cover up things that they are insecure about and don't like about themselves. Some phrases that I've heard from people are, I don't want to come across as too sensitive, so I just don't say anything when something bothers me, or I don't want to be seen as needy, so I don't want to reach out or initiate to be the first one, to say something, or I feel like I need to seem together at all times, or I'm going to scare someone off because maybe I'm too much, maybe they can't handle me. And what that's actually doing is keeping you in performance mode. That's what it's doing. It's like these are the sentences that people are saying when they truly believe that performance mode is the only way that they're going to get what they want. But then again, like we said before, getting what you want for the image that you're portraying is never going to reach your heart, and it's never going to feel like you're getting what you want, because you're going to have to maintain that facade in order to keep getting that, and that's not possible. The truth is, performance disconnects you and self-ownership connects you. That's where self-awareness and self-acceptance become so crucial and become so powerful in your life. And actually, that's why I have them as the two foundational things. You come into my Marriage Magnet Method program and we start with self-awareness and self-acceptance. There's literally no other self-development work that can be done without that foundation. And there's no dating strategies and dating tools and support that are going to be effective without you really becoming aware of who you are and taking ownership of who you are, and then making peace with that on some level. And that's why I distinguish self-love and self-acceptance. And I've talked about that a few times, where it's I am not an advocate for saying you need to love yourself 24/7 all the time in every way, every day. You don't need to love yourself. You need to accept yourself. Self-love, we can always keep growing in. It always fluctuates, but self-acceptance needs to be the baseline of how we feel and how we relate to ourselves, so that when we build connections with other people, it is going to be coming from a much more real place, and we're going to be able to get where we want to go. We're going to make those connections. We're going to find someone who's right for us. We're going to find friendships that feel authentic and aligned. find jobs. Like every aspect of our life is going to be better if we can have that awareness and that acceptance. And so I believe those are foundational pieces of self-development. When you are grounded in that self-awareness and in that self-acceptance, you come across much less controlling, much more calm, much more confident, much more curious also about the other person's experience, because you're not sitting there so self-absorbed and so worried about like how you're coming across, and you're not preoccupied with like, oh my gosh, how is he seeing me? What's happening? Like, is he going to think that of me? And sometimes that in itself like doesn't allow a connection, because you're so preoccupied with how you're coming across and your image that you're not able to get curious about the other person. You're not able to ask about them. You're not able to like truly see them for who they are. And then you come home from the date and you're like, I don't even know how I feel. And it's like, of course you don't know how you feel, because you probably didn't even feel. You weren't even there on the date. You were just so busy thinking about what the other person thinks of you. And that energy that you put out, that real, I'm self-aware, I accept myself, okay, maybe I'm not perfect. It's not because you're flawless that it comes across magnetic and radiant. It really is just that you take responsibility for who you are, and there's a beauty in that confidence and in that ownership. You are going to be seen, even though you're not trying, you're going to be seen as real and as authentic and genuine and emotionally safe to yourself. And you're going to be emotionally safe for someone else to want to connect to you, to feel comfortable opening up to you, to create that connection that you're actually trying to create when you're dating. There's so many examples, but one example that comes to mind is when clients tell me, I'm afraid of sharing that I've been to therapy, or I'm afraid of, talking about that I've been on medication or I am on some form of medication, whether it's mental health or physical. Like there's so many things that people are like, I don't know if I should say it, or how do I say it, or when, and what if it makes me look like I'm unstable or too complicated, I'm going to be too much, or I'm going to be perceived as like something's wrong with me. And I understand that worry, but I would either go neutral or go positive. This is what I tell my clients, right? So if you can't go positive, you can at least go neutral. But I think even with this example, you can go positive, right? So with therapy, I would say, well, what if going to therapy is a flex? Like one of my clients on my MMM call last night said, therapy is a flex, and we were all laughing. Like, yes, it shows that you're committed to your growth. It shows that you're self-aware enough to do what's good for your health and well-being. It shows that you don't avoid things and that you're willing to tackle things, which also helps the person know that what if you're struggling in your marriage? Like, you are the kind of person who's willing to seek support. You're the kind of person who is strong enough to take personal responsibility and make changes that are necessary for the betterment of her life, which is a good thing, right? And even if we had to go neutral, we can say, you know what, that won't scare the right person, kind of thing. There was also a client on my call last night who talked about a broken engagement. And with this one, I think it was too hard for us to go positive so quickly, because sometimes we just need to be neutral, right? We just need to take down the intensity, turn it down a notch, and just make peace, like we're talking about here. Like, how can we make peace? How can we get to that place of acceptance where we're like, okay, maybe I'm not going to be proud of this. Maybe I'm not yelling this from the rooftops, but at least when I'm dating and when I'm speaking about this to shadchanim or matchmakers or friends or family that are setting me up, like, how do I present it? Do I say, yeah, so I had a broken engagement? I know it looks bad, but like, are we doing that? Or are we saying, hey, just want to let you know, I had a broken engagement. I know sometimes it can come across a certain way. I just want to share a little bit about my experience. I grew a lot from the experience. I feel like I know more about who I am and what I'm looking for. And I would love to go out with someone who would appreciate that, or who would at least be accepting and okay with that. Right? So we don't have to go positive and say, oh my gosh, having a broken engagement is the best thing that could have happened to me. It's the thing that makes me, that's why I'm amazing, or that's why I grew so much, which could totally be true, right? But maybe that was the catalyst for insane growth for you, and that's awesome. But like, we don't have to go positive if we're not emotionally feeling ready to go there, but us being able to accept and make peace with it, and then confidently being able to relay that to someone else is going to be so helpful. And on a date as well, you can, if he heard that you had a broken engagement and then you're on the date, and you can say, I'm sure you heard I had a broken engagement. Feel free to ask me any questions that, if there's something that's concerning you, or there's something that you want to talk about, like, I'm happy to address it. And you being confident, like, just imagine how that comes across versus you being in that hiding, like, oh my gosh, I hope he doesn't ask me about this, or like, did they find out about it? Like, what did they say anything? Did it, like, that energy is so much less attractive and is so not a good, place for true, genuine connection. This is also how dating gets so much less exhausting, because you're not going to be there analyzing texts and making yourself crazy. And again, like the perception thing of like making yourself nuts, wondering what they think and if they thought that was bad, like going through all these mental puzzles. Like you won't have to do that, because you're just going to feel okay with who you are, and the way that the other person perceives you is their choice, and the way that they communicate what they need from you and how you communicate what you need from them is the real connection that you're building. And so your insecurities are not running the show anymore. Your confidence and your self-awareness and self-acceptance is the piece that's allowing for that genuine connection. If you don't have self-awareness, if you don't have self-acceptance, this is what your dating life could look like. You might misread neutral situations and make that rejection, right? You might mistake it for rejection. You might take things personally that actually aren't personal at all. You might shut down or overreact in conflict. Or you might sabotage something good. Probably worst of all, you might sabotage something good that has good potential, that has great potential, because deep down you're afraid and you don't feel worthy of it, because your insecurities are kind of consuming you. So we're not doing that anymore. We want emotional stability within ourselves, and we're looking for that. Everyone says they're looking for a guy who's emotionally stable, right? So are we being that ourselves? We're looking for that, and we're also looking for that within ourselves and how we bring ourselves to our dating lives. You start to trust yourself. You start to let go a little bit of those things that are taking you over and causing you to overthink and overanalyze and hold you back from just really being able to move forward, to make healthy, good decisions that feel clear and easy. Like, okay, dating is never going to be easy, but easeful, I like to say, right? Joyful, easeful, and helps you feel like you're really moving forward. That's actually going to allow for real love to develop, for real connection to develop, for you to go out with someone and not sabotage it. And if it is the right person, to build something healthy and meaningful, and to feel clear and know that this is what you want, if it is what you want. But just like once your insecurities are out of the picture, everything just gets so much easier. So I have some questions that I want you to sit with and think about. This is just food for thought. And you can take this as a journal prompt, or you can do whatever you want. But I think that it's important to just start thinking about these questions so that we don't just take knowledge as knowledge and forget to integrate it. Question number 1 is, what's one insecurity that you've been hiding or feeling like you need to perform because you're afraid of people seeing that, right? And not a surface one. Don't give me a surface one. Do something that like you feel like, oh, I hope my date doesn't find out about this, or I hope that when someone is looking into me and finding out information that they don't ask about this, or that no one says something like this, like I hope that doesn't happen. That's the real stuff. Okay, number 2 is, what would it mean for you to own that insecurity, right? You don't need to flaunt it. You don't need to think it's the best thing ever, but just be able to face it. The third one is, how is that insecurity shaping the energy that you bring to your dating life right now? And once you sit with this, you can do a little reflection and ask yourself, like, how have I been showing up in my dating life? What has it looked like? And what would it look like if I didn't bring that energy? If I brought energy that, instead of the withdrawal, the anxiety, the shame, like maybe my energy is confident, it's calm, it's curious, it's light, it's fun, it's enjoyable to be around, it feels emotionally safe for both people. And the fourth one is, what might shift for you if you truly believed that your insecurities don't disqualify you from the love that you're hoping for? It actually just invites you to lead yourself better. And like I said before, the emotional safety that it creates for you and for someone else. Like, what would shift in, not just in your dating life, but in your life as a whole, in the way that you feel about yourself, in your approach to your dating journey as a whole? What would shift for you if you believed that your insecurities do not disqualify you, your insecurities do not need to run the show anymore? If this is hitting home for you, I want you to know this is exactly the kind of work that we do inside the Marriage Magnet Method program, but custom tailored to you and your unique journey. We don't do surface level dating tips, although we definitely have practical dating strategy involved, but we more so focus on real stuff like identity work, confidence, communication mastery, rewiring patterns, and giving you emotional skill building that will actually change you now and help you achieve the future that you're hoping for. And this work not only helps you date now with more ease and more clarity, but actually sets you up for a marriage that is built on healthy, solid ground and allows for that beautiful, deep connection, that relationship that you're truly longing for. Because if you're listening to this podcast, you are not a woman who just wants to get married and check off a box. You're someone who really is craving deep, emotional, healthy, happy love that wants to get married with intention, create and build this life and this legacy and this family that is truly purposeful and meaningful and is a dream come true and not just a social status. So it starts now with how you relate to yourself, with how you relate to others, and of course, what you believe you are worthy of. So if you've been stuck in your own head, wondering why you feel like you can't get it right, you're too much, you're not enough, I want to personally invite you to book a free consultation call with me where I get to hear about your unique story, your goals, talk about your dating patterns, what may be holding you back, and we'll both decide if MMM is the right fit to help move you forward in your dating life and ultimately become the version of you that's ready to receive real love. That's what I know that you want, and that's what I want for you too. So I will leave the link in the description and show notes below. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, guys.